On to this matter now. South African women are an important part of the agricultural sector, yet female unemployment in there remains high. So does farming still have opportunities for young women? Well, Agnes Hove from the African Women in Agriculture is here to talk about that and more as we speak about EmpowaWomen Leadership Summit, which is upcoming. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Agnes. And before we speak about the summit and what it looks to achieve, what is the ratio of women in the agricultural space based on some of the research or the engagements that you would have had?
So women's participation in agriculture at the moment is basically at, I suppose, worker level. So we're more farmers, we're grassroots farmers, more than in management levels. And that's because a lot of women do not understand the role that they can play in the farming industry. So there's a lot of forums, especially and groups and organizations that are now out to promote the participation of women in the agricultural sector. So that's the reason why we, in conjunction with EmpowaWomen, are, creating these forums where we can start to have conversations about what women or how women can participate in the agricultural industry. We are trying to promote structured, deliberate, intentional interventions for female-owned agricultural businesses where we empower and develop women in the industry.
And how do we begin to do that? Because obviously there's a lot, as you say, policy changes that need to happen, a space created for women and resources, including financing, that would need to come into play there. So how exactly do we begin that process of including women and not just at a worker level within the space?
So I think because we have for so long not participated, we are not aware of these opportunities. So we look to bigger organizations and agricultural organizations and people who've been farming for decades to partner with younger farmers and, show them that there is partnership opportunities. There is opportunities to collaborate. So there's funding opportunities that a lot of women are not aware of. So the question is, how do we communicate this information to young women and to women to say to them these opportunities are available? There are organizations like EmpowerWorks, which have these massive summits where women can see representation. You can see who is working in the agricultural sector, who are the key role players, who are the policy formulators, and who are the people who have the ability to open doors for the young women in the agricultural sector.
So as we approach the summit then, what are some of the key conversations you're hoping will come out of that summit, particularly when it comes to training around farming? We've got issues of climate change and extreme weather patterns now that are informing the way that people farm, but also issues of the electricity crisis, water issues across the African continent. So at the summit, how do you unpack some of these issues and women getting into the sector, navigating them?
So a lot of the challenges we face are not unique to farming. So things like electricity, load shedding, that is across all industries. But there are specific nuances that affect agriculture. And you spoke about climate change, but also seasonality. Transport challenges as well affect us. So we need to collaborate, and that's why farming networks are very important. And a summit like this brings key role players together. We need to learn how to work with each other rather than against each other. We need to create networks. We need to create networks for funding. We need to create networks for how we're going to empower each other for development of younger farmers. We need representation. young farmers need to see older women in the agricultural industry. So once you're exposed to somebody, you know that there is a likelihood of participating in the same industry, and you know that if you do participate, there is a likelihood to succeed. We need mentors. So summits like these open doors, they enlighten the younger women so that they get to know who are the key role players, the door openers, the policy makers, who are the funders, whose door do I need to knock on if I want to access any opportunities in the agricultural industry. And it's not specifically limited just to the farming side. There's agro-processing. There is logistics in agriculture. There's technology in agriculture. And the Empower Women Summit brings across women in media, in technology. So all those industries are represented there. And there is a cross-section of all the dynamic and powerful industry leaders and female industry leaders who are movers and shakers in their specific world. And we need to sit down and, as women, work together to create a partnership for success.
It's very important that you highlight there that there's an entire value and supply chain that exists within agriculture where women can participate at different aspects of the business. A final thought from you, Agnes, if you will. You do have different stakeholders that you mentioned are invested within the sector at different spheres. Do you think that there's enough of a political will at government level to create that conducive environment for women to get into farming, agro-processing, logistics, or whatever it may be within the space?
There has been a lot of collaboration, and there is government will as well. So we work quite extensively with the Gauteng Department of Agriculture, GDAD, and they are very supportive. We get extension workers. We develop women in agriculture, and the extension workers actually go out to them and give them their support. So that is available. I think the biggest challenge is awareness. So how do we make the young farmers or even the older female farmers aware that these services are available for them? And that's the reason why I'm pushing for the collaboration and the summits and people getting together and networking, because that's where people identify where the opportunities are. That's where they identify who they can speak to, where is funding available, how can I get mentorship, how can I get access to the government? Because you can't walk into, I suppose, the Department of Agriculture and look for funding or look for resources if you don't know what you're looking for, if you don't know what is available. So it's understanding at what stage of the value chain are you playing, what resources are available, who are the gatekeepers to those industries, who are the people who can open doors for you in those industries. And once you get that information, you're able to participate and you're able to start to access the resources that are available at all levels.
Agnes, thank you very much for those insights. That is Agnes Hove from the African Women in Agriculture, joining us this afternoon to speak about women in agriculture, different spheres, of course, ahead of the EmpowaWomen Leadership Summit that is set to discuss the various issues and opportunities that do exist for women in agriculture.